Welcome back. I'm Scott McGee. Let's get right to another county legislator race in Vote 2013. This time it is District 10. Sheila Marcotte is the Republican incumbent in this race, being challenged by Democrat Mary Jo Jacobs. The 10th district covers Eastchester, Tuckahoe, and New Rochelle. And let's talk with both of the candidates running in this race. First, we welcome the incumbent, Sheila Marcotte. Ms. Marcotte has been a legislator since 2010 after winning a special election. Now, before being elected, she served on both the Eastchester Town Board and the Tuckahoe Village Board. And we also want to say hello to Mary Jo Jacobs. Ms. Jacobs is a Democrat who has worked as a director in human resources and facilities for companies in the business and technology fields. She also has experience in the healthcare industry. We want to thank you both for being here today.
Thank you very much, Scott.
You're both going to have 2 minutes now to tell viewers why you think they should vote for you, Ms. Marcotte, as the incumbent. Let's start with you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's that time of year again, and I am seeking re-election. I'm going back to the very same people that have twice sent me to White Plains to represent them and to be their voice, both at the county legislature, in the chambers, and at the committee meetings. I think the most important thing about this election, there's a couple of very important things, especially in District 10, but having spoken to a number of residents throughout the district, throughout the spring and the summer, taxes are the number one concern. They need to see mandate relief, they need to see tax relief, they're begging for it, and I'm very proud to have worked with an administration and a group of legislators that for 3 years in a row have had zero increase to the tax levy. 2013, we passed a budget. It was a bipartisan effort, and it was a zero increase once again. It protected essential services. It put money back into the safety net. It protected the credit rating, did not raid the reserves, and these are all good things that we need to see happening at county government. I think the last 4 years we have proven, we have effectively demonstrated that county government can be smaller, can be smarter. We are headed in the right direction, and I want to keep the momentum going.
All right, thanks very much. And Ms. Jacobs, you have 2 minutes.
Great. My name is Mary Jo Jacobs. I am very enthusiastic and excited to run for county legislator in District 10. I have been an active, engaged member of my community. I have had 15 years of working with PTA and other organizations within New Rochelle and the broader community, and I have 30 years of work experience. And I'm a Democrat, and I'm proud to be a Democrat, and we'll talk about some of that. But I also am. I also have 30 years of work experience. So but I also have 30 years of work experience. And when I work, whether it's in the community or in the business world, I don't ask people what their ideologies are. I am an independent mind who makes decisions based on best solutions put forward. And that is absolutely something that I'm going to bring to the county. As far as the budget that was adopted in 2013, I don't know if my opponent would recognize the budget that we have today from the one that she actually adopted in 2013. At that time, there was $13 million put up and suggested for bonding and tax certiorieries. There have been things that were defunded that have now been put back into funding, including money for the food banks in in Westchester County. And there was something else in particular that's eluding me right now, but there have been a number of things that have been put back in that budget that wasn't initially voted on the adopted budget that the bipartisan group is proud of, but the Democratic caucus wouldn't have supported. And in fact, there was another 10 days to negotiate that budget that wasn't taken advantage of to get it right the first time. And I try to get it right the first time.
All right, thanks very much, Ms. Jacobs. Let's talk about some of the issues specifically. One of the things that has clearly come up in the debate and for the county executive and has been talked about a lot is the HUD agreement, something that has been hanging over this county for a while. It's really coming to a head right now. We are seriously in danger of losing several $1 million. And I wonder, Ms. Marcotte, where do you stand on this? You live in an area where it is more affluent, and we certainly have plenty of affluent areas in Westchester County, but there are certainly a lot of voters there who are very concerned about local zoning, stuff like that. On the other hand, we do have millions of dollars at stake here, and it seems like we cannot get to some kind of agreement. Where do you stand, and how can we get this behind us?
Great. It's a great question, and it's very, very important in District 10, especially Tuckahoe and Eastchester. Those are 2 of the 31 eligible communities. So I have stated from the very beginning, I'm not out to appease HUD, I'm not out to appease the monitor if it means that I'm going back to my district to ask them to change their local zoning laws. I'm not going to do that. You know, the community has a right to their zoning laws. They worked hard on it. They have crafted them and rewritten them over the years, and they have a right and a say in what their neighborhood, their front yard, their backyard, and all of that is going to look like. I think Westchester County has worked hard to that end. They've done 9 analysis of AIs, if you will, and every one of them has been rejected. So again, it's something my opponent has been silent on. She has not told the residents of Tuckahoe and Eastchester, will she litigate? Will she tell them they must accept a one-size-fits-all zoning code? That's something they want an answer for. I will stand with the local communities. I will stand with the supervisors and the mayors to defend their zoning code. So, it's home rule.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Jacobs, so you now have a chance to address that issue.
Absolutely.
What would you say?
Well, first I want to say that I do not agree with the obstructionist, Tea Party-like Republican direction of putting out lawsuits to try to change this decision. There was a settlement made, and I think we would have been better off to adhere to the settlement, and clearly that's what's come down. There's $20 million in lost money. Penalties, legal fines, and a $7.5 million community block grant. And that has directly impacted the people in my district. In Eastchester and Tuckahoe alone, almost $250,000 is gone in the block grant. And that is for money that municipalities have already paid to fix sidewalks and to reline sewers. So I don't think this is a good choice. And as far as, New Rochelle and Tuckahoe, well, you know what? We've already done our fair share on the housing side, and we already have the zoning that has allowed for it. So we're in good stead. So I don't approve of what's been done by the county, but I think as far as New Rochelle and Tuckahoe goes, we've been punished for something that we've adhered to.
Okay, thanks very much. The other big issue here, obviously, is taxes. And everybody says, they come up here and they say, I'm against taxes, not going to raise your taxes, whatever it is. The problem is we still have bills going every month. We have expenses that go. So what can you do to keep the expenses down so that we can then keep the taxes down? Ms. Jacobs.
Okay, well, first off, I think we have to have a broader vision when we talk about revenue. We should absolutely be including growing revenue. That's going to help us with our overall taxes. Now, one thing that I've been espousing is back in 2011, the amount of money that was brought into New York City for tourism was $34 billion. Here in Westchester County, that number was 1.6 or something like that, $1 billion. And I think we can do a lot better. I think Hudson County does a great job of advertising to get people up there, and I'm afraid people are passing us by. As far as the budget goes, I think here in Westchester there does need to be a balance, and it needs to be a smart balance. Having social services that protect people and move them towards self-sufficiency, I think is something the people of Westchester County want. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to just raise taxes. We need to look inward at the county executive office. In the last couple of years, there are 57 county-appointed jobs that average $97,000 a year in salary. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're bettering our government, but that's something I'd really want to take a very close look at.
All right, Ms. Jacobs, thanks very much. Ms. Marcotte.
Thank you. A couple of things. I'm going to go back to the earlier question because I'm a little disappointed that my opponent will not stand up and say that she will stand with the supervisor and stand with the mayors if she's elected. Our zoning laws are very, very important to the residents who live in District 10. With regard to the budget, I'm very proud of the budget that we passed. It was a bipartisan coalition of a number of legislators getting together and getting the job done. Remember when 8 legislators walked out of the room: Catherine Borgia, Judy Myers, Ken Jenkins. We've done a fantastic job looking at the county and making it smaller. We have eliminated waste. We've cut spending where it needed to be cut. And we haven't taken all of that money and given it back to the taxpayers. We did strengthen the safety net. It's something that my opponent has her numbers all wrong on. So I think we've done a great job. And looking at the staffing, I think, before she looks at the CE's office, who has reduced staffing by 19%, she might want to take a look at the legislative staffing, which has grown enormously. Ken Jenkins, if you recall, in 2011, created his own law department for $950,000. Things like that are going on all the time. We can start right there to cut the waste, and that's something that should be done.
Ms. Marcotte, can you address perhaps one issue specific to this district, District 10, either a park, a road, something like that, where you see that as an issue that needs to be fixed and something you would do to address it?
Sure, absolutely. We have a number of bond acts right now that are in limbo, if you will. They are completely buried in committee. In total, there's probably between 25 and 30 capital projects that have been sitting for over 90 days. Nothing's getting done. They are being held up in committee by some of the committee chairs. There's no good reason, and my district is hurting because of that. I am forever sending emails to Lyndon Williams, to Judy Myers, saying, let's get this bond act. You've had it in your possession for 90 days, 6 months. It's going nowhere. We need to stop the political nonsense. We need to get Westchester moving again. There has to be a change, and hopefully I will be sent back to White Plains to represent the people in my district, because I've been there fighting for them.
Ms. Jacobs.
Okay, well, first I'd like to also respond to the social services. There was $10 million cut in social services, period. That's what happened in the budget that was adopted. Things have changed since, but the decisions that were made was a $10 million cut to social services. So, as far as what I'd like to do in my district, in Eastchester, there's been problems with flooding off of the Bronx River Reservoir, or Bronx River, Reservoir area. And I know 2 years ago, the Astorino government said that they were going to spend money on flood mitigation, and that money just hasn't come. And I don't want to wait for the next big storm for owners of businesses and homes to have to shell out. I think we need to invest in that flood mitigation today so that we're not getting it from FEMA tomorrow.
All right, thanks very much. Well, we have just a little bit of time left, but how about we got 45 seconds for both of you to tell the voters out there why you should be their next representative. Ms. Marcotte, if you
Thank you,
like to
absolutely. For the past 3 years, I have worked hard representing my district. I've listened to them and heard their message loud and clear. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Taxes are the #1 concern. I've listened to much of my opponent over the past several weeks as we do these mini debates, and she speaks a lot about building. She wants to build business centers and build infrastructure. And I don't think anyone disagrees. Our infrastructure is antiquated and outdated, and we need to tackle that. But you can't have a realistic conversation about building if you're not going to tell us how you propose to pay for it. Westchester doesn't have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem. Spending has been on the increase from 2000 to 2009, almost 17%. Taxes doubled, 54% they went to. So I'm going to, again, lead by example. Zero taxes. Hopefully we can do it again 3 years in a row. I'm running on my record, and I'm very proud of it. Thanks.
Ms. Jacobs.
Okay, in the 3 years that my opponent has been in office, if you go to the Board of Legislators website and look up what legislation she has owned and passed, you'll find that she's the only legislator on that website that doesn't have her own piece of legislation. I am somebody that will legislate, will get involved. I love to be in the community. I have gone to many community organizations even before I was running, and I'm very excited about helping the people of Westchester County. I will be there for you, and I will be absolutely, positively engaged. Thank you.
All right, thank you both, ladies, for coming out here today. Great discussion, but before we go to the break, thank you both for being here. We got another race coming up after this break. Thanks.
Thanks very much.